So this is the weird time in sports where if you're not a baseball fan, there's not really much going on. You have the NBA season's over, NFL season is about to enter training camp, but it's been over for a bit, and the hockey season's over. So if you're not a baseball fan, then this is a really rough stretch of sports time. But I kind of wanted to get into what's going on with the Los Angeles Lakers right now, and they're getting bashed. They're getting bashed by ESPN, Fox, everybody on Twitter, everybody on Instagram, everybody on TikTok. Everybody's bashing LeBron and the Lakers. And I understand that they've had a rough offseason. They haven't made any moves. The only thing they've done is they re-signed Max Christie and they went through the draft, obviously. And, I think that it's just being so over-publicized that they're doing such a bad job. And in the reality of it, let's look at what they've passed on. Start off with Dan Hurley. They didn't get Dan Hurley. They got JJ Redick, who I think, in a way, could be a better fit for what they're trying to do if you're keeping LeBron. They did that. They don't get Klay Thompson. And to be honest, did you really want Klay Thompson that bad? The Klay Thompson contract sounds ugly. 4 years, $80 million signed by Dallas. That looks like an ugly contract. He was regressing pretty intensely last year. He had some really bad games where he just didn't look like himself. So 4 years, $80 million, I would have signed him to a 1 year, $22 million deal in a perfect world. We don't live in that world. But still, so they don't get him. You don't get DeMar DeRozan. What did DeMar DeRozan prove to Chicago? Did he prove that he was this all-world winner? I don't think he is at the top of his game either right now. And I don't think he makes the Lakers that much better. This is the reality of the situation. The Lakers' current roster is what it was last year. Last year, a lot of people were excited about it. And, I'm at the point where I don't think that the current roster, if they were to make no moves, can win the title. Is it a playoff team? Certainly. I'm hearing people out there saying that it's not a playoff team, that they're a play-in team at best. You see, I don't understand that. When they made the playoffs the previous year, they won the NBA in-season tournament. It's like if you don't go through that 3-11 stretch they went through in the middle of the season, they probably would have gotten the 4th or 5th seed. That changes everything. Matchup-wise, who knows? We're having a completely different conversation. And even you look at that roster last year, there was a lot of injuries to it. Gabe Vincent was hurt the entire year. Jared Vanderbilt, who was so key to the conference finals run for them the previous year, was out for the entirety of the playoffs and the last stretch of the season. And you get to this point where they do need to make a move. They need to get some sort of center on their roster. They need to get Jackson Hayes. I like him as a player. He's an athletic center. They need kind of more of a veteran center, big body guy. Maybe can shoot a three, but that's not. They need like a JaVale McGee or a Dwight Howard like back then in 2020. They need something like that. They need to be a little bit bigger. And I think you can get that, but some of the trades that I'm seeing proposed out there just don't make any sense. Like they're going to have to make a trade at some point, and I have no problem with them getting rid of D'Lo. I have no problem with them getting rid of Rui. I have no problem with them shading the first not their first round pick. I have no problem with them shading that. The problem is you got to make sure you're getting proper value for your players. Like I saw the D'Lo, Cam Johnson, and a first round pick trade. And I'm saying, why would you ever do that? D'Lo last year averaged 20 points. Cam Johnson averages like 13. And you're giving up a first-round pick too? Like maybe straight up it would make more sense. With the first-round pick, that doesn't even make sense. And I don't even know if you got to, if you're the Lakers, if you're going to trade D'Lo, which I understand he had the bad postseason, it wasn't great. If you're going to trade him, you got to make sure that you're finding those points, like that you're not getting that ripped off. He had a pretty good season. Like they don't make the playoffs without him. He had a pretty darn good season. And like I said, he's a very movable piece that I think they need to trade, but I just don't see how you could get a Cam Johnson. It doesn't make any sense. There's other trades where it could include like Gary Trent Jr. I saw that, which, I wouldn't mind them having Gary Trent Jr. There's Kuzma trades. I don't get that at all unless you get them unless you can get them for like next to nothing. We've been there. We've seen that, done that. I don't know why you're trying to get the guy that you booted out back. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think there's they were also talking about freeing up space for Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's be honest, when he played with the Lakers, he was terrible. He was awful. He couldn't score. So I don't know why they would want that back. That makes no sense to me either. You could say he was rusty and all that, sure, but he was terrible. So it doesn't make sense to bring him back. Zach LaVine, if you can get him for cheap, that's a guy that I would consider maybe a D-Lo first-round pick for him, but they're not going to do that because people know that the Lakers are desperate to win. They see they're getting bashed right now. LeBron's getting bashed. They're saying the narrative that this is his fault makes no sense either. When I understand the Bronny thing, but I don't. It was a second round pick 55. It makes no sense to me. And you act as if that kind of nepotism hasn't happened before in business, or that kind of nepotism hasn't happened before in previous leagues, including the NBA before. So that's ridiculous. And to say people don't want to play with LeBron, come on. People don't want to play with LeBron. He elevates players, makes people better, gets them better contracts. It makes that narrative is just dumb. That narrative is just dumb. But moral of the story, I think the Lakers have done what the best that they can do at this point. If there's not a move out there, don't force it. The worst thing you want to do if you're them is force a bad move, force a bad trade, take on a bad contract. You don't want to do that. Stay put for now. It's early. Take your time. Remember the Russell Westbrook deal. They were saying in that offseason, you got to trade him. The market was awful. They were going to get ripped off. Lakers waited until the All-Star break, the NBA trade deadline, made that great move, got them to the conference finals, turned around their season. They're just playing it slow. They had a good draft. Dalton Connect was a great pick. That's a really good pick that they got. And I know he hasn't looked great in the summer league so far, but that's a guy that's going to play. That's a guy that's going to be a good shooter. He was plotted to be a top 8 pick, and he fell to 17, which was really good for them. And that's a good move. The only piece that they lost this entire year, too, the only loss that they have to deal with from their playoff team was Taurean Prince. And you could possibly say that Max Christie could step into a similar role as that. He was able to play at a decently high level when there were other injuries during the season. So I think that plugs into there. So you're looking at it and you're like, all right, nothing has changed. So at the very least, they're a playoff team because they were last year. Gabe Vincent and Vanderbilt were hurt pretty much the whole year. That means they should be a little bit better. They got a little bit better at coach. I'm not sitting here saying that this current roster can win the title. I'm not sitting here saying that. But to say that they can't make the playoffs, to say that they can't compete is just ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. You're hearing it everywhere that these guys suck. I'm hearing it from people in my space. These guys suck, and it doesn't make any sense. They just haven't done anything yet. If anything, they've been smart. They've sat back. They've looked at the field. We'll see how it progresses. I'll be here to update it, but I think they're going to be just fine.